أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu ya mu'mineen. May the lanat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon the munafiqeen. So today we are looking at Surah Al-Hadid, and we're going to try to go through the whole surah fairly quickly. I will come and I will talk about the manhaj in a second. The way we're going to be engaging in tadabbur and tahwil of this surah. But let me begin by saying that I recently made a video teaching the first 5 ayat of Surah Al-Talaq, which is Surah 65. And basically, the first 5 ayat are teaching the idea of taqwa. So those 5 ayat in the whole Quran are the most meaningful and substantial in terms of the effects of taqwa, the benefits of taqwa, the fruits of taqwa in life, as opposed to akhirah, right? In hayawatul dunya as opposed to the akhirah. It shows you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of the people who adopt taqwa, right? So that's what those 5 ayat are about. But the whole surah is only 12 ayat, and those that group of surahs from Surah 50 to about Surah 60, even the one we're doing, which is only Surah 57, so it's only 3 less than 60, right? These surahs are kind of in a nice middle ground, right? What I mean by that, in the last, few surahs of the Quran, you have surahs which only have a few ayat, and in the beginning we have, Surah Al-Baqarah, which has 286 ayat. But these surahs which are kind of in the middle, which are maybe this one is like 24, 25 ayah, and Surah Talaq is 12 ayah, and a lot of them are like 12 to 18 ayah, something like that, right? This allows us to really see the composition of a whole surah without it being too much for us to grasp. We can appreciate the nazam of the surah, the composition of the surah, the wholeness, the unity of the surah, right? And we can do this by appreciating each word and each ayah in its place. And then once we finish going through it in that way, we have a strong sense of the overall surah because we've really focused on precisely understanding every particular, right? If you follow me on this channel and kind of the tradition and school I come from, so Maulana Farhi, Maulana Islahi, Dr. Israr Ahmed, and then me, what I've done is I've perfected the manhaj I've attained the takmil of the manhaj of tadabbur and tahwilul Quran. Right? The Quran doesn't have haja for anything. Right? The Quran doesn't have haja for anything. It's not to say that the hadith are not beneficial, that we should not do istifada from them. No, I plan on teaching a lot of hadith on this channel too, but really the Quran doesn't have haja. The hadith have the haja of the Quran. The Quran does not have the haja of the hadith. So it's the opposite of what the traditionalists kind of tend to say. But the Quran is the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we can understand it without anything else. It has direct itlaq upon the aql of Bani Adam, and so we can understand the Quran directly, completely, fully. It can make itself mubin and it can make itself perfectly clear. Now, before we dive in, I like to share a few hadith about what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about the Quran. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The best of you are those who learn and teach the Quran. The best of you are those who learn and teach the Quran. The best of you are those who learn and teach the Quran." I also like to translate this hadith as, "The best of you are those who acquire knowledge of the Quran and communicate the knowledge of the Quran. The best of you are those who acquire knowledge of the Quran and communicate knowledge of the Quran." Okay, the next hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that whoever puts the Quran in front of him, whoever puts the Quran in front of him, it will take him to Jannah. So whoever puts the Quran in front of him, the Quran will take him or lead him to Jannah. So whoever puts the Quran in front of him, it will take him or lead him to Jannah. And then the next hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Convey from me one ayah, convey from me even if it is only one ayah." So he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, convey from me even if it is only one ayah, convey from me even if it is only one ayah. Okay, so I like beginning um, these videos with a few hadith on the topic of the Quran because we focus on the Quran primarily on this channel. So with that, let's get started. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So this is Surah Al-Hadid, Surah 57, and we're going to go through as much of it as possible today. It's about 24 ayat. Uh, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Sabbaha lillahi ma fi samawati wa al-ardi wa huwa al-azizul hakim. So exalts Allah whatever is in the heavens and the earth, wa huwa al-azizul hakim, and He is the wisely mighty, and He is the wisely mighty. So this name Al-Azizul Hakim, right? It occurs whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about composition. He's talking about divine composition. So when Ibrahim al-Islam was told to kill certain birds and put them on different hills and call their name and that they would come, this reanimation is a sort of divine composition. Right? So whenever, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, at one point he says for the people who are affluent to help the orphans, and then he says if he wanted he could have made you in their condition, right? And then but he hasn't made you in that condition. And so Allah is Azizul Hakim because He has the power to compose reality, right? So I don't I've done videos on this in the past. I don't have a lot of examples in mind right now, but those are the two main examples I'm going to present to you. So this Al Azizul Hakim is the wisely mighty, the one who exercises his might with wisdom, the one who exercises his might with wisdom. Okay, so the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Lahu mulku samawati wa al-ardi yuhyi wa yumitu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. So he's saying, for him is the sovereignty or the ownership of the heavens and the earth. He gives light, yuhyi wa yumu, he gives death, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. And he has power, capacity, or capability. He has capability over everything. Okay, the next ayah, and I say capability for qudra because qudra also has something to do with, like we say, muqtadir, or it has something to do with like capacity or amount, and so capability as opposed to power, right? It says power here, but the reason I say capacity because capacity has something to do with amount, right, or space, and qudra also has something to do with space. So I think capacity is a better translation than power here. Okay, so we see that in the first two ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being introduced. So the topic is actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his relationship to the creation and his kind of his activity in the creation, right? Because he gives life and he causes death. So something that is a big part of human experience is directly attributed to him as action. Wa yuhi wa yumitu. Okay. Now he is being introduced further. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Huwa ul awwalu wa ul akhiru wa ul zahiru wa ul batinu wa huwa bi kulli shay'in alim. So he is wa huwa ul awwalu, he is the first and he is the last, and he is the apparent or the manifest, and he is the unapparent. Now you see there's a wa. You see there's a wa in between all four of the names, whereas up here it's Ul Azizul Hakim. So the translation is actually this is the attribute and this is the name. So it is the wisely mighty. But here you have the wow between all the names. You have the wow between all the names, and so they're separate names. They're distinct names in a list. They're not. They're not one is. They're not qualifying one another. وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ alim, and he is of everything knowing. He is of everything knowing. Okay, so moving on to the next ayah, ayah 4, Allah says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ فِي sittatin. So He is the one who created the heavens and the earth in 6 أيام, 6 days. ثم استوى على العرش. Then he sat upon the throne. This ustawaya is from evenness. Ustawaya is from evenness. So Allah says, sawa'un alaykum a'andartahum ma lam tundirhum. So this it's the same for them whether you warn them or you do not warn them. So astawaya is he sat upon the throne, meaning he was balanced upon the throne, meaning when you sit, your weight is balanced, like you're stable upon the throne, right? So astawaya means he sat upon the throne, or he became stable upon the throne. He was flat upon the throne. Ala ul arshi ya'lamu, he knows ma uh, yaliju, what penetrates into the earth, fiul ardi, wama yakhruju, what comes forth from it, minha, wama yanzilu, and what descends, min us-sama'i, from the heavens, wama ya'ruju, and ascends, fiha, into it, wahuwa, and he is ma'akum, with you, aina, wherever, ma kuntum, wherever you are, وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ basir, and he is seeing, or he is seer of what you do. So he is seer of what you do, right? What you do, he sees what we're doing. Lahu mulku us-samawati, lahu mulku us-samawati, for him is the sovereignty of the heavens and the earth, wa al-ardi, wa ila Allahi, and to Allah turja'u ul umur, will be returned all the matters, or all the matter will be returned to him, all the matter, meaning he decides everything. Everything that occurs, if you're familiar with occasionalist philosophy, every moment that occurs in the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is from the amr of Allah. He decides it, He commands it, He gives it tartib. And so everything, the composition of every moment, every experience that every human being is happening, everything that's happening on the earth and the relationship between everything, it is from Allah. Allah is giving the amr of it. He is the one who is deciding what is happening. He causes the night to enter the day and causes the day to enter the night, and He is knowing what is within the breast. Yuliju ul-layla fi un-nahari, he is the one who merges the night into the day. Wa yuliju un-nahara fi ul-layli, and he is the one who merges the day into the night. Wa huwa alaykum, wa huwa alimun bi dhati us-sudur, and he is knowing of what is in the hearts. So he knows what is inside of our hearts. Okay, this is ayah 7. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Aminu bi'ullahi, I have faith in Allah, wa rasulihi, and His Messenger, wa anfiku, Aminu, so it's a hukum, Allah is giving a hukum, have faith in Allah and His Rasul, wa anfiku, and spend mimma ja'alukum, of what He has appointed, mustakhlafina, as trustees therein. فَأُلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, and those who have iman, minkum, among you, وَأَنفَقُوا, and spend, lahum ajrun kabir, for them is a great ajr, a great reward. For them is a great reward. So there's only one root in this ayah that I don't know, so I want to look it up. So I want to show you how you can do that. You can see the usage of this root, mustakhlafina. I don't know this root, so you can go to Quran corpus and you can go to actually just Quran 57:7 and type in corpus into Google, and you see it comes up right here. And then the Arabic is going to pop up. Yep, see, mukhtasifina, and then I have to find it in here in this list. And those who believe among you and spend for them is a reward. This one, right? Mukhtalifina. Okay, so it's from mukhtalif, right? This is mukhtalif. And you see, I found it confusing. At this point, I'm very familiar with the roots of the Quran, like almost all of them. But I found it confusing because there's only one usage like this in the whole Quran. You see that? There's only one usage, and I found that to be true. Often when I'm confused, I don't understand what root is being utilized and how it's being utilized. You click on it, and it's only one usage in the Quran. That means that that is something you need to focus on and do tadabbur. It's one of the secrets of the Quran. If you really focus on this one ayah in the local context, in the local compositional context, it'll open up to you. But right here we can see that it's only used once. That's why I found it confusing, because it doesn't occur in the Quran often in the way it's just been used here. But generally we can see this root mukhtalif is for various or different. It's used for alteration and conflict. Mukhlifa, who remained behind. Oh, it's also the same as Khalifa. I didn't know that. I didn't know Mukhtalif was from the same root as Khalifa. So, so I guess that makes sense, right? Trustee, right? So Khalifa is someone who you leave behind, um, someone you leave behind. So in that sense, mustakhlafina, that makes sense. It's something similar to a Khalifa, right? It's uh, um, something similar to a Khalifa, mustakhlifina. Um, Okay, and this word, let's look at this ayah as a whole again. Allah says, "Aminu bi'ullahi," believe uh, in Allah, wa rasulihi, and His Messenger, wa anfiku, and spend. This anfiku is like for spending for iqamatuddin and mujahida. So anfiku is like financial mujahida. It's not sadaqah. Sadaqah is for poor people, for food, for water, for the traveler, that type of thing. But anfiku is for iqamatuddin specifically, and I can demonstrate that through usage, but it's well known. Okay, wa anfiku mimma, what ja'alakum. Now this ja'alakum, it means to appoint. So ajlun musamman, an appointed time or the appointed period. So this appointment, or Allah says, I will appoint Ibrahim, I will appoint you Imamun Nas, or I will appoint a Khalifatul fil ard, right? So this is appointment. What it means is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to appoint a hakika, a shay, to a new mansab. He's going to appoint, do intakhab of a shay to a new mansab, and then there's going to be a mabni mustaqil hakika at the new muqam, at the new mansab. So when he says he appointed a mustakhlifina, when he says he has to spend anfiku mimma, from what he has appointed mustakhlifina, you as trustees. So whatever, like if someone has a business or they have an asset or they have some skill, they have some means of income from which they are earning on a continuous basis, fihi, um, so he wants us to be spending from that. He's commanding us to spend from those assets, spend from those skills, spend from the thing that we have continuous earning from, right? فَأُلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, and then so he's commanding us to have iman, and then he's telling and to spend, and then he's saying this is the result of those who have faith and spend. So فَأُلَّذِينَ, so those who have faith, minkum, as commanded, from amongst you, وَأَنفِقُوا, and spend as commanded from amongst you, lahum ajrun kabir, they will have a great reward. Okay, so moving on to the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا لَكُمْ, وَمَا لَكُمْ is for you, لَا تُؤْمِنُوا, um, and what for you that you don't believe. So what is for you that you don't believe? Bi'ullahi, in Allah, wa rasulu, and His Messenger, yad'ukum, to believe in. And he calls to you that you li tu'minuna, that you have faith bi rabbikum, in your Lord, waqad akhadha, and indeed he has taken mithaqakum, your covenant, in kuntum, if you are mu'minin, if you are believers. Um, okay, so that's self-explanatory. I won't explain it any further. هُوَ الَّذِينَ يُنَزِّلُ Huwa ulladhi, he is the one, and this is talking about Allah. Huwa ulladhi yunazzilu, sends down ala abdihi, upon his slave, ayatin bayyinatin, mubin ayat, clear ayat, liyukhrijakum, that he may bring you out minul dhulumati illa unnuri, from darknesses into the light, wa inna Allah, and indeed Allah, bikum la raufun rahim, is with you. Um, the compassionately gentle. He is with you, the compassionately gentle. So when we have names like this, you see Raufun, Rahimun, right? So it has the same ending. Um, what that means is these are not two different names. It is, one is a quality and one is a name. So it's actually that the second one is the quality. So when we do tarjuma into English, it's actually they switch places, and we say Rahim is compassionate, right? So it's going to be the compassionately, and then we say Raufun is gentle. So this means compassionately gentle. Okay, moving on to the next ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is ayah 10, says, وَمَالُكُمْ, and what is for you, ala tunfiku fi, that you spend sabilillahi, وَمَالُكُمْ, what is for you, that not tunfiku, that you do not spend fi sabilillahi, walillahi, and we see again this anfaku, yanfaku is associated with the sabil of Allah. You see, so it is when you spend, when you have infaq, it is for the sabil of Allah. It's from mujahada, for iqamatuddin, not sadaqah. Sadaqah is different. Walillahi mirathu, while for Allah is the heritage, ussamawati wa ul ardi, wala yastawi, and again we've seen this wala yastawi, and not or the same. It says equal, you can say equal, but it is really not or the same. Minkum, adal is more like equal. Um, Adal is equal. Yastawi is more same. Yastawi, minkum, among you, man anfaqa, those who spent, min qabli, before, ulfahdi, the victory, wa qatala, and fought, ulaika, those, a'zamu, are greater, darajatin, in darajat, in degrees, min ulladina, than those, أنفقوا, who spend, min ba'du, وقتلوا, and fought, وقلوا, but to all, وعد الله, Allah has promised, الحسنى, the best, the most beautiful, والله, and Allah, بما تعملون خبير, and Allah is aware of what you do. And Allah is aware of what you do. So the main idea of this ayah, which was distinct, was not equal among you, or those who spent before the conquest of Makkah and fought, and those who did so after it. So there's a difference in degree. Those are greater in degree than any who spent afterwards and fought. So those who did infaq and made mujahada after the fatah of Makkah are not the same as those who did it before. So now Allah rhetorically is going to ask a question in ayah 11, and he says, Man dha'ulladhina yukridu, who is the one who will loan Allah, Allah qardan, a loan, hasanan, a beautiful loan. And this is the same thing. I think it's called jumla ismiya, I'm not sure. But it's the same thing, where this is actually an adjective and this is the noun, so it's a beautiful loan. Qardan hasanan fa yudha'ifahu, so he will multiply lahu, for him, walahu, and for him, ajrun kareem, a great reward. A great reward. Okay, the next ayah is Surah 12. Allah says, Yawma taraya, you will see ul-mu'minina, the faithful, ul-mu'minati, the female faithful, yas'a, running, nurahum, their light running, bayna aydayhim, before them, wa ul ba'aymanihim, and on their right, wa yushraqum, glad tidings for you, ul yawma jannatin, this day, gardens tajri min tahtiha al-anharu, underneath which rivers flow, khalidina fiha, abiding eternally in it. Dhalika huwa al-fawdul alim. That is the great triumph or the great success. Okay, so in this ayah we see that it is the believers who are being discussed, and in the very next ayah the munafiqeen are going to be discussed, like they're being contrasted rhetorically, right? Yoma ya'kulu, on that day will say, ul munafiquna wal munafiqati, and we see the same parallelism, wal mu'minina wal mu'minati wal munafiquna wal munafiqati lilladina, to those who amanu have faith, undurna, wait for us, naktabisu, we may acquire min nurikum, from your light, kila, it will be said to them, urji'u, go back, wara'akum, behind you, fa'ultamisu, and seek, nuran, fa duriba, then he will be put up bainahum, then there will be put between them, bisurin, a wall, lahu babun, lahu, for it, a gate, batina, who, its interior, fiha, in it, uh, urrahmatu, is mercy, wa zahirun, but its exterior, min qablika, ul adhab. So there will be a wall placed between them, with a door, and its interior will have rahma, but on the outside it's going to have azab. Right? So there's going to be a distinction made with the wall, and one side is going to have azab, and one side is going to have rahma. So the munafiqeen are going to call out, they're going to say, yunadu'unahum, they will call, alam, we're not, nakunna, we ma'akum, with you, were we not with you? Qalu, bala, they will say yes. Walakin kum, but you, fatantum, led to temptation, anfusakum, yourselves, watarabastum, watarabbastum, and you waited,
وتربصتم
watarabastum, waurtabtum, and you doubted, wagharatkum, and deceived you, ul amanu, ul amaniyu,
الأماني
wishful thinking, until came to you the Amr of Allah, وَغَرَقُمْ, and deceived you, بِأُلَّهِ ul gharur, about Allah, your arrogance. So ul gharur, so your arrogance deceived you about Allah. Okay. So Allah will say, for yawma, so today, la yu'khadhu, not will be accepted from you, uh, fidayyatin, any ransom, and not from those who disbelieved. Uh, ma'wakumu, you abode on naru, they will be put in the Jahannam. Um, they will have is the fire. It is mawlakum. So the Jahannam will be made their mawla. The Jahannam will be made their mawla, wa bi'sa ul masir, and it is a very wretched destination.
مولاكم.
It is a very wretched destination. Um, so there's about, this is ayah 16. I think there's a significant amount of ayat, at least half the surah is left. So I'm going to stop the video there, and I'll complete in the next video. And so there will be two parts to this video. I'll talk to you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.